Welcome everyone to day number 11 on the 30-day Master Your Life Masterclass. Yes, moving right along. 10 days down, 20 more to go. Well, after today, 19. And I'm sure you've gotten a lot, and I'm sure you're doing at least a little in the way of changing your habits to get a better quality of life and a better response in your body in regards to health and wellness. A good idea would be to, if you haven't done it already, to as you do these practices, to do some journaling, to take some measurements and what have you, because if you continue on this journey with me, if you actually need to lose weight or get rid of some of your medications, that will happen. So it's a good idea to document your process and also to share in the comment section your experience. Let's have the conversation. Okay. I appreciate you all for doing that. Okay. Now we're talking about, let me share my screen. Y'all know the routine. We're going into the organ clock. So today we're going to be talking about the bladder. Yesterday we talked about the small intestine. Now, as we talk about these various organs, we're going to be talking about various issues. We have been and we will continue to talk about various issues that are correlate with the functioning of these organs, whether or not they're debilitated, weak, or malnourished, and then you have a dis-ease, where these organs are not at ease, and we wind up having to deal with those issues. So this is a process to get you into the flow of mastering life in your body by doing masterful practices on a consistent basis. Okay. And part of the process is to be fully aware that everything is energy and you must keep that energy, just like you must keep your body moving, going, and flowing. You got to keep it moving, you got to keep it going, you got to keep it flowing. That's our mantra, okay? So say that 3 times real quick while I load up this screen here. Okay, talked about the small intestines, time frame 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Okay, we discussed that yesterday. Okay, so we talked about that time frame is good time frame for problem solving and organizing. It's like just past the middle of the day, you're getting ready for the evening and so on. A lot of times in business they have afternoon meetings. That's because it correlates with the time frame of the small intestines and problem solving and getting organized. Didn't know that, did you? There's a lot of science that correlates with how our body functions and the things that actually happen in the course of a day, largely due to planning and alignment, even without awareness. That's the beauty of when you're functioning optimally. You automatically flow in alignment with the circadian rhythm, this biological clock that is coordinated based upon the energy of your organs and what they stimulate in the way of human activity throughout the course of the day. Okay, so that was the small intestine. We discussed it again. Once again, we discussed it yesterday, and we just touched on it again as a light review today. So today, our primary focus is going to be on the bladder, and it says, remember, this is my organ clock that you're looking at. For those of you who are live on YouTube or watching the YouTube recording, my clock that I made, and you should have yours made by now because that was a homework assignment from day 2 of this 30-day process. Okay, was to get a large piece of paper, circular object, draw that circle, and fill in the information that you got when you asked your device for a picture of an organ clock. If you haven't done that, go back, do that now, and come back later on the YouTube feed. For those of you on Facebook, welcome. Thank you all for attending. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay. Okay. So for the bladder, it says work, study, and drink tea. That's cool. think about it. You know, you're working, you're studying, you got your pen, you got your pad and whatever, you're getting some things accomplished and whatever, or you're hammering and whatever, and you know, doing work outside, you know, you have a nice cup of mellow tea to soothe, you know, your mood and all of that good stuff. Okay, it says, let me increase this a little bit more. It says that this time frame, and that time frame is from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., a 2-hour time frame for the bladder function, is the best time for efficient work. And have tea, drink more water, and if you're doing the egg smoothie, have your second 16 ounce, 12 to 16 ounces of egg smoothie. That's going to aid with that whole detoxification process as well as nourishing and so on. If you're doing that egg smoothie, which is a great thing to do. Remember, I can provide that for you, $50 a gallon. Just let me know. Especially if you're in the DMV. I'm not shipping that because it's perishable. It has to be consumed. It has to be refrigerated and consumed within a narrow time frame. Okay. So, oh, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. Oh man. Oh, sorry about that. That is how we feel sometimes when we're in a situation where the bladder's full and we need to release. Okay. Now, for some of us, that's a persistent scenario. And that comes about from a number of things: urinary tract infection, um, incontinence as we age. And a quick note on incontinence: there are a number of ways to deal with incontinence. There are pelvic floor exercises where you're squeezing the muscles of the perianal array. I actually have a number of breathing exercises that also include sound vibration where you're squeezing as you're making the sound and as you're exhaling, and even some as you're inhaling to lift and pull up the muscles in the pelvic floor or in the muscles of the perianal array. Sign up for the breath master certification or one of those workshops. Also on Wednesday, I have a live feed on Instagram where I share a bit about a bit of breath work. I'll be doing that again tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, so check me tomorrow at 2 p.m. live on Instagram for that. Now, the incontinence issue also has to do with cellular integrity and the integrity of the skin tissue that makes up the bladder and that sphincter that holds tight around the urethra so that it keeps the flow of urine from escaping. Now, if your tissue is not hydrated adequately, it's going to be kind of loose and flabby and or flabby and what have you. Think about the it's called a ball flap in the toilet. This thing that goes, you got a hole in the toilet where the water comes out. I'm talking about the tank. And then when the water gets to a certain point level, the little thing rises, and then it has a flap. And that flap closes that hole. So if that flap is worn, it doesn't it doesn't latch in. It's like a little gap or whatever, and then water just continues, and then your water bill goes up. So similar to that, the functioning of the bladder, if that tissue is not hydrated, and it needs to be mineralized and to be in order to be hydrated, and I'll explain that, then it's going to be loose, and you may have an issue with bladder control, i.e., incontinence. So, how does that mineralization come into play? Very simple. Minerals are also what they call tissue salts. Tissue salts are different types of salt, metals, and so on and so forth that have become chelated or broken down on a microcellular level so that it can be absorbed. So, if you ever been outside, if you live in a northern region in an area where they actually put down this salt to deal with the snow buildup on the roadway and what have you, and to diminish the ice potential. They have a salt now that they put it down, and you walk away and you look and you see that there is actually beads of water on the ground, and you don't know where they come from because it's not raining or anything. That's because that water has literally pulled, I mean, excuse me, that salt has literally pulled water from the air, and now you see a little droplet of water on the sidewalk. Okay, so the same thing happens with salt everywhere. It pulls water. So when you have adequate mineralization with those tissue salts, it's going to pull water through the cell walls and hold that water in the cells. It's going to hydrate those cells. So when cells are hydrated, the cells that make up skin tissue of all types, when that's hydrated, that is going to increase the integrity of that skin tissue. This is how, when you take um, sea moss and kelp in particular, that's your nutrient for the day. Kelp. You take kelp capsules on a regular basis, it's going to allow for cellular hydration on a regular basis. And that is going to stave off incontinence issues. And you're not going to have to feel that urgency to go, and you're going to be able to hold on a little longer without the pressure. And then if you're doing the breathing exercises with the squeezing of the muscles of the perianal array, toning up that entire muscular structure in that area, then you're not going to have to worry about that issue. So that's the major tip for the bladder diet, the bladder, and not to be confused with the gallbladder, which holds bile and is part of the processing of fecal matter rather than the urinary bladder, which handles liquid matter. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I got a little bit of more information for you. Don't want to get overboard, but I want to give some clarity. Okay, so I asked my device. Remember, ask your device. If you're wondering something, you know, yeah, go see your doctor, but you don't have to wait and be oblivious to what's going on with your body. If your leg hurts, you can look up what's going on with my leg on your device. Ask your device. You can type it in, but it's easier to just ask your device if you have a handheld device, and most people do. More people got handheld computers now than they do have laptops. But if you have a laptop, type it in. Okay, so signs of what are common bladder problems? Inability to hold urine or leaking urine, called urinary incontinence. Needing to urinate 8 or more times in a day. Waking up many times at night to urinate. Sudden and urgent need to urinate. Pain or burning before, during, and after urinating. Cloudy or bloody urine. Now, most guys my age are fully aware of what we're talking about when it comes to this whole getting up at night and all of this having to go and it's being so urgent and what have you. Now, that has to do with the fact that over time, as we age, if we're not replenishing the nourishment in our bodies for all of our cells, things are going to get weak. So, guys, you need to get that salt palmetto. There's a couple of other things you need to do. I'm having on January 14th another live session speaking of sexual health, which is directly tied to this whole bladder function and all of those organs and workings down there. So you can catch me on YouTube, on Instagram Live at 6 p.m. on January 14th, 2021, discussing that. And I'll be talking about other nutrients, herbs, and what have you that are very powerful in affecting health in that region, and also the whole ED scenario. I know y'all want to know about that. Okay, now let me see. You got something else about the bladder. Okay, now it says here in Chinese medicine, Wait a minute. Make sure everybody's done. Most forms of low back pain can be treated with bladder points on the back, as well as bladder points on the back of the legs. You're talking about acupressure points on the bladder meridian, on the urinary bladder meridian. Now, we know a lot of people got low back pain. I'll talk about that towards the end of this 30-day process. Right now, I want to get in that clock and what have you. Then I'm going to deal with issues specifically. I want to deal with organs specifically, the body as a whole in this first 20 days or so. And then I want to deal with issues on the back end. Okay. And you can remind me of that later on if you so choose with a message in the comment section at the end of one of the videos, especially when we get around day 20, 21, 22, 23. Start reminding me of that because I got a lot of crucial information to share in that regard. Okay, that's one thing about it. Okay, now it says, oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? What are the emotions associated with the bladder? Fear and fright. Fear is the motion of the kidneys and the bladder, organs associated with water, the water element. It is normal. It is a normal adaptive emotion, but can become chronic when ignored. That makes sense to me because I'm tell you something. If you are incontinent and you got to go, you got a fear of embarrassment because if you can't hold it and you wind up wetting yourself and you're out in public, that's not a good look, especially when you got your good suit on. Oh my goodness. No, I mean, we got, the 6 feet apart and all of this kind of stuff nowadays, and people are staying at home, you quarantine and all that stuff. It's not a good look at home. But if you got to go out and you got to get some food and what have you, you just drink your water and you out and it's like, I know we don't want to deal with that. So we don't want to increase the fear. And there's also some psycho emotional stuff that goes along with that. There's an issue called interstitial cystitis bladder pain syndrome that's exacerbated by stress. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you're incontinent and you're trying to keep from being embarrassed and you're fearful and frightened and what have you, because you might wet yourself and you don't want to really have people seeing all of that and what have you, that's stressful. And so you're talking about a roller coaster ride, a deep dive into a aggravating scenario that you don't particularly want, and I don't want for you, which is why I'm doing this whole Master Level Life Masterclass. So that's going to do it for today. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, and we're going to move a little further along with this info. If you have your organ clock, you can look at it and see what organ we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay? So thank you for letting me have this opportunity to share. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will be notified the next time I go live and when this is uploaded, and other videos, of course, because it's time for me to just let y'all know what's up. Thank you again. This is your global community elder, breath master Aaron Motley, signing off for today.